The tales of incredible stupidity you are about to hear actually happened. The names have been changed to protect the guilty. Welcome everyone to Failing for Effect. I'm Randall Lefebvre, and I'm here with my good friend Hedoth. He is a role-playing friend from my past, and he is tales of a Bimmy that we both know who has a long and extensive record of failure. Welcome Hedoth to Failing for Effect.
Thank you, Randall. Thank you for having me. So, I would like to begin by saying Bimmy, despite all of his failings, is a good guy. I like Bimmy. Bimmy is one of those people that he's just kind of pleasant to be around, but Bimmy doesn't always make the best choices.
Bimmy is a bit of a poor strategist.
That's a polite way of putting it, yes. But I just want it to be known that I do like Bimmy. Bimmy is a good guy. He's just painful to game with sometimes. And just a little more background. These events have occurred so much that the group and I eventually sat down at one point in time, and we actually had to define what a Bimmy moment was. Because they happen so frequently.
Definitely, please tell everyone what a Bimmy moment is.
Yes. Okay. So, as we have been able to break it down and define it, a Bimmy moment is anything that would jeopardize the general well-being of the party and hinder their performance due to random acts of stupidity or planned acts of incompetence, either for selfish gain or as a result of insignificant reasoning.
Oh no!
Okay. So I have a bit of a list here, and as I mentioned to you earlier, most of these have quite the tale behind them, and there are a few that aren't on here that probably should, and that might need to be amended in future episodes. But I will begin with the first one. And I just have little bullet points here to remind myself, and this one actually has a bit of a backstory to it as well. But the bullet point is, Cleric gets himself killed by dragons, shoots at them because he thinks that they are illusions, when one of them carried off a member of the party previously.
What? Okay. All
okay.
Right.
So I'm gonna back up quite a bit before we get to that point. So in this game, it was a 3.5 game, I think, because I don't think Pathfinder was out yet, and we certainly weren't using it. But anyway, we were traveling to the city because we had been hired by some individuals to go and retrieve a fallen star. You know, like a meteor had come down to Earth, and they're like, hey, this is rare and unusual. We want you to go get that and bring it back here. And we were like, you're paying us, we'll do it. We are on our way.
This sounds like typical, typical adventure parlance, typical adventure behavior. Nothing suspicious yet.
Yeah, no, like this is, it makes sense. There's an interested party in a fallen star, and we're adventurers. That's what we do. We get paid to go do stuff like this. So anyway, we are on the road, and I forgot how long it took us to get to this point. But we noticed that the weather was getting a little weird. Like, they would be perfectly clear, and then we could see the rain clouds in the distance, and it would just be raining like constantly for a couple of days, and we're like, this is really weird. It should stop by now. And we eventually come across this farmhouse, and everybody there is super jovial, and everything's going well, and we stop in to get out of the rain. And this guy has a big estate, so he's all excited. His crop has done really well. So he invites us in, he invites us to his feast, his family's there, his friends are there, and everybody's having a good time. And we're like, okay, yeah, no, this is cool. So we stop there, and Bimmy is sitting there, and he's kind of uncomfortable. And we're like, what's up? You think something's going on? And he's like, people don't share things. This isn't right.
Wait,
this guy doesn't seem like he's on the up and up. And we're like, Bimmy, he just had a successful harvest, and he has more than he knows what to do with. He's sharing it with his local neighbors, and he's sort of contributing to the community.
Okay, so who is Bimmy a cleric of? Who?
Oh, okay. So Bimmy thought it would be a great idea to be a cleric of Loki, the trickster god, because we had the Norse pantheon amongst a couple others, I think, but he wanted to be a god of Loki. Or he wanted to be a cleric of Loki, rather.
Okay, so his suspicion is not necessarily unwarranted, but still, he's kind of jumping at shadows, I'd say.
Yeah, so like I understand, if you're in desperate times, you don't really share people, but there was plenty of reason to believe that this guy was just like, I have more than enough to go around. I want to do something for my community. Here's some strangers that just came in. Come on in and join the festivity. We're having a good time.
Right. The GM rolled favorably on the travel rolls, and you guys get a free night's rest in a safe place where there are no wolves or Otyugs that are going to molest you.
Yes. So anyway, we stay there for the night. Things completely uneventful. Everybody gets a full belly, a nice warm bed, good times. So we continue on for a couple more days, and we see some homesteads that are just kind of there. Again, it's still raining like hell, and we're thinking, like, this is kind of weird at this point. So we come across, eventually it starts to snow, and we're thinking it's like, the middle of May, and this doesn't make a whole lot of fucking sense, but we got to go in this direction anyway, so we just continue to trudge on.
Right, okay, so this is definitely bizarre weather at this point. Not completely unheard of, but it's far more likely that something really weird is going on.
Yeah, and it's later confirmed because it goes from being like a light snowfall to sleet, and then just to basically an ice storm.
Okay, so...
And we realized that we've done goofed, and that we were not prepared for, the ice storm of 98. That's a main joke for anybody listening. But we were not prepared for an ice storm in the middle of the summer. So we're like, well, we're not, we don't have blankets, we don't have, furs, we have nothing really to protect us. So anyway, we find one of these homesteads, and it's completely buried in ice, but we can see that it's still being used. Like, we can see some glow through the windows, and we can see that people have, like, shoveled out and dug their way out a couple times. So we make our way to the door, dig it out, and, basically kind of break in, just because if we didn't, we were going to die.
Right.
And the family in there is this sort of somber, really quiet group of people that, they come off as, like the family, if the family from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if, like, they were just a little more polite.
Right.
That's the vibe we got from them, and we're sitting there, and they've got a couple of servants running around, and, the family invites us in for dinner, and we sit down, and they present us with meat and all kinds of things to eat, and the party is sitting there going, these people are some kind of shady, so we're a little hesitant, but we're hungry and we're warm, so we're not, going to turn down their hospitality.
Right. It might be people meat, but, whatever, we're starving.
Yeah, and Bimmy's like, I like these people. They seem all right. And we're like, are you, what? Like, you're not okay with the happy guy giving away stuff, but the somber, creepy people you are? Like, whatever. And
they're so suspicious. They have to be serious.
Yeah, right. Like, these people are too weird not to be on the level. And that's sort of how Bimmy goes about thinking in a lot of ways, and I'll elaborate on that and on some other instances. But anyway, so long story short, they were cannibals. We didn't really do the smart thing. We all just, went to our separate rooms because, they had offered us separate rooms. I was playing a noble, so I'm just like, fuck yes, I'll take a separate room because I'm not sleeping with these plebeians.
Right.
And that nearly ended with me getting eaten. But thankfully our fighter was a light sleeper and prone to just murdering anything he didn't quite understand. So when he saw, like, the two servants coming through a secret door in his wall, he's like, nope, I'm done with this shit. And fucking decapitated them and came downstairs and found us hanging up. And he's like, okay, I'm going to get you guys off because I can do that. And then we proceeded to murder the family, find whatever stores that we could, and then continue on. So, after we got past the sleet and, the ice storm, it went back to being rain, and there was another weird little instance involving illusionary fire and a whole bunch of frozen people, but, we got past all that, and it went to rain, and then it went back to being sunny again, so we were relieved. And we came to the city, okay?
Okay.
And we're thinking, great, we can resupply and, figure out what the hell's happening, from where we just came, and, maybe continue on.
Maybe they got a wizard. Maybe they can figure out what the magical weather forecast is.
I was playing a sorcerer, and I'm sitting there going, yep, this is magic, and I was also, like, level 2 or level 3 at the time, so I'm like, I understand that that's magic. I don't know what caused it, but it's magic, and I can't dispel it.
Right. Right.
This fish is too big for me.
At the very least, you can find some furs or whatever. Prepare for the whatever might come ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, we get into the city, and we quickly realize that the whole place has basically been abandoned. Like, people had picked up their stuff and moved, and it didn't seem to be rushed. Like, but we knew that people had, left. Like, there was nobody there.
Okay, but
so we're just sort of
so the town hasn't been ransacked either. Like, there's not just like shit torn off the walls.
It had been evacuated is a better word for it.
Okay.
So, just nobody was there. All the valuables had been taken, and, anything that was, perishable, a lot of perishable stuff was left behind, or things that just, nobody really cared about. Nobody took their furniture. So anyway, we're skulking our way through the streets trying to figure out what in the hell's going on. And one of the players hadn't shown up for like 4 games, and the GM had just kind of had enough and figured that he wasn't coming back. So he's like, okay, I'm just going to screw with the players and hit them with a dragon. And we didn't really see it because the dragons had made homes inside of some of the buildings and, in some of the, like, take the watchtowers and castle towers and stuff like that. So we weren't really paying attention to the skies too much. And this dragon just swoops down and snatches him, just cinematic, gone.
Right.
And we realized
this, and the dragon descends and carries your party member away, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So we're like, oh man, we should get to cover, because that's a good idea. So we get into cover, and we start watching the skies, and we notice that every so often some dragons will pop up, and they'll start fighting each other. Because like the chromatic dragons and the metallics are fighting, and that sort of worked out that way.
So they're not presenting a unified front, but they're still definitely dangerous.
Yeah, and as far as we can tell, they're not really interested in us. They seem to have the conflict with themselves. So our primary train of thought was we can, stealth from house to house until we get to the city gates, and then get the hell out of Dodge. Like, that was the working plan. Bimmy, in his infinite wisdom, is convinced that these dragons are not real. And he's like, no, guys, I'll prove it to you. Hang on.
Oh, okay.
So he gets out his crossbow, goes outside, and starts shooting at some of the dragons.
Oh, God.
He doesn't hit any of them, but he suddenly realized that this is probably not a good idea, and that they are probably real.
And now they know exactly where you all are.
Well, again, thankfully, they weren't too preoccupied. They were too preoccupied with each other to really notice us.
Okay.
However, this is where this happens, okay? Bimmy decides that he is going to get the hell out of Dodge without us. And one of the other players was from this nomadic culture, and they pride themselves on their horses. And he was also a flamboyant motherfucker. So he had this bright white horse with red ribbons pleated into its mane, and all kinds of decorations on its saddle. And this horse stood out. Like,
right.
You would see this in like a military parade, and a prince would be riding the damn thing.
Right.
So he gets it into his head that he's going to steal this horse and just make a beeline straight for the gate.
Okay.
So he gets on the horse and takes off. And we all sort of peer around the corner, and the guy that he stole it from is rightfully pissed. And we're sitting there going, he's going to get killed. He's so dead.
He's so fucked.
He's going to die. And about the time that he was almost to the gate, this big blue dragon comes up over a house and sees this bright white horse and was like, oh man, lunch.
Oh no.
I love fast food. So he reaches down and he snatches up Bimmy. And for all you animal lovers out there, the horse did get away.
I was about to ask.
We found it on the edge of town. It was chilling out in some trees and was like, Dad, I want to go home. I really want to go home.
I was about to ask, because like that nomad character, he would have been fucking rip shit if his horse got killed because Bibby was being a fucking moron.
Yeah, no, and they were a people that loved their horses. They were a nomadic tribe, and they prided themselves. They were like Huns,
Right, Mongolians, they live on their horse, they die on their horse.
Exactly. except they were a little more peaceful. So anyway, he gets snatched up by a blue dragon, and then another dragon notices this and was like, "Oh man, he's got my lunch. If you want to come over here, bro, and give me my lunch?" And he's like, "Fuck you, buddy. This is my lunch." So the dragons then proceed to like fight over him and start, pulling at him.
I was about to say, start ripping him to shreds.
They didn't rip him to shreds, but they definitely messed him up, and he fell, I don't know how many hundreds of feet to what we thought was his death. Unfortunately, the GM decided to pluck him out of the game for plot reasons, that he would later use against us. So he was effectively dead, but, the GM decided to spare the character so that it could screw us later.
Right, of course. That old hat.
So, and and the reason why this makes it onto the list is because, 1, selfish gain.
Right.
2, insignificant reasoning. And 3, hindered the party's performance because he was our only healer.
Oh, no!
Okay? We had a ranger, but the ranger was like, I shoot bows, and I can, sort of keep us alive in the woods. I don't have my spells yet.
Right. Right, because you guys are only like level 2, level 3 or something.
Yeah, we were fairly low level.
So ranger doesn't get any spells yet.
No. Okay, so that was the first one. Okay?
I hate to cut you off. We're gonna cut these into their little pieces, but thank you so much for tale 1 of this delicious Bimmy. Could you recite the bullet point again?
Okay, the bullet point was cleric gets himself killed by dragons, shoots at them because he thinks that they are illusions when one of them carried off a party member previously. Proving that beyond the shadow of a doubt, these things are not illusions.
Well, I mean, at least he did that much.